All right, guys. This is group two. Sorry, dog, get down. Group two coming with you with the information about the school surveys. So I was looking at my information for Heritage High School, and first I was looking at how our culture's changed. And so looking at my information, really for school culture, I focused on a few areas. I focused on student conduct, teacher leadership, school leadership, and then like, was it a good place to learn? And so student conduct from 2014, we actually went down across the board. Not by much, but a percent here, a percent there. The reason for that change, it's hard for me to know exactly why that changed because last year was my first year at Heritage. I was working down in Columbus County before that. But I would bet is that I know that Wake County has made like a big deal about like trying not to suspend students. And so I have a feeling that that might play a part in the student discipline issues because we're trying not to suspend students unless we absolutely have to. With teacher leadership, we were up slightly in most areas. School leadership, we were up in most areas, and then we went up almost 5% in in saying that Heritage was a good place to work and learn, which was definitely reassuring to see. And really, Heritage is a good school. It's got a good culture. Most of the teachers are pretty close knit, especially within the departments. Looking at like what needs do we still have and what needs are going on, we definitely need a more consistent and I guess clear approach to student conduct. I think that's the big issue with a lot of teachers. I think a lot of times we don't know exactly what's going on as teachers or what the discipline is. We have kids who we thought were suspended and end up showing up in class, and we're trying to figure out what's going on, if they should be in school or not. So stuff like that would help. And then also, this is more of a personal one for me, just spreading out leadership responsibilities among all the teachers rather than the select few that seem to volunteer for everything. That would be helpful, and I think it would help the teacher leadership numbers all go up. And then when it comes to what would I advise current administration and changes, I think administration needs to set an example when dealing with student conduct. I can't tell you how many times, we don't allow hoods or hats in the building. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen kids walk by and talk to administrators with hoods on, and they don't say a word. And so it's like, well, no wonder why they pitch a fit when the teacher says something to them, because the administrator doesn't say anything to them at all. And then we need to make sure we only fight battles we can actually win with students. They came up with a rule, they started last year, that students are not allowed to have headphones in the hallways or in the classrooms, and the only time they can have headphones is during lunch. And then we have a remediation time. It's kind of like a smart lunch, but it changes every day. And so they can have headphones during lunch and during the remediation time. And so it becomes a disaster trying to actually keep kids with their headphones out. And now we've got the wireless headphones that's so kids with long hair have them in and you can't even tell. It's a battle that just is not winnable, and it's not worth fighting over.
Is this due to the inconsistency of the application of the rules?
That one's a big part of it. Some of the teachers just don't agree with it, because like there's times that we do stuff. Last year they told us they could not have headphones in the classrooms at all, no matter what. And there's stuff that we do with phones and stuff where we want the kids using headphones and stuff. And so it's like, all right, well, let us manage our classrooms and handle it on our own.
We have similar things in our school.
Yeah, we have similar problems as well. Like, not teachers across the board not enforcing the rules in the same way, or interpreting them in different ways a lot of times too.
Yeah, and that there's got to be something done where it can just be more consistent from classroom to classroom. I walked in a classroom the other day, and kids had hats on in the room, and that's like the hat thing is usually pretty decent. It's hoods we have to worry about, but stuff like that. Like, there's got to be something we can do to try and make sure it's being consistently enforced across the board, so we don't get cussed out every single time we tell a kid to take their hood off.
Well, don't go to uniform school because it doesn't work. No.
My last school had uniforms,
Yeah,
and that's just a whole different fight.
yeah, exactly.
A lot of the times though, like now we have a lot of new teachers, and I find like the more new teachers you have, the harder it is for rules to be enforced, just because like everybody's like on a new learning curve. The teachers, the kids, it's like, but
Well, it's tough when you change the rules too. So like we had, they changed that headphone rule. Well, of course, the freshmen were like, well, this is stupid, but this is all we know. Everybody else is like, screw you. Like, I'm not changing.
Yeah.
I think that's about all I have though with our survey.
Well, I can go next.
Oh, go ahead, Arthur.
Okay.
All right. First of all, thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of the group. I'm a late comer.
welcome.
I was in a group of 2 previously, and it was stressful trying to get in a new group. So thank you. I'm with Richmond County Schools. I teach at a 9th grade academy. There's just all 9th graders. So I guess that's wonderful in a sense. In another sense, hey, it's all 9th graders. All right. So one of the areas that I found that we had a pretty good shift in our school culture is the area of time. We went up from 77% to like 91.9%. And teachers feeling like we have enough time to do the things that we need to do. One of the issues that I found that we have when dealing with time is we have time to plan with one another. Previously we didn't have like common planning periods, so it's kind of hard to plan within your subject. And now we have a common planning period, so that's kind of changed the culture, and we really enjoy that. And the other thing with time is, I think my school likes what we're doing with our time because PLCs are actually planned out, and they're one particular day. Our previous administration, anytime they wanted to have a data meeting or PLC, they would just put on the announcements. Tomorrow we're going to have a data PLC, which makes it frustrating because you're not prepared. You may have other things you have planned to do on that time. So with this, the change within the past 2 years, we have an actual schedule for PLCs, which are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So everyone knows prepared on those days. So that kind of helps. One of our low points, and it grew slightly, but we're still low, is community involvement. Let me look at that for a second. We've got community support and involvement. We're slightly up in most areas, but one area we doubled. In area A, where it says parents, guardians are influencing decision makers, influential decision makers in the school. That's doubled, but the problem with this is it's a 9th grade academy. And so if we have a PTO each year, every year the PTO changes. So they're not really that influential, because once you have a PTO and they're really involved, then they go on to the high school, and that whole group goes to the high school, and they get involved through 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we always have a drop off in that area.
You guys are on a completely separate campus.
We have a completely separate campus. It's approximately 3 miles apart. We share classes though. Like our 9th graders have electives on the main campus. So we have a bus that comes in first period and fourth period. So they may start off first period at the high school and then get bused back to us second, third, and fourth period, or they may end their day at the high school. So we kind of have a shared campus, but we have a separate principal, assistant principal, so we all have separate issues.
That's got to be tough, man. Especially the PTO, like you were saying, the parents are there for a year, and then they're gone. How much can you really be involved in, 9 months, 8 months?
And the sad thing is we recently tried to get the parents involved, and we had a spaghetti dinner function. It was not anything for for the parents to come in and talk about grades, but it was just for them to come in, meet the teachers, understand the curriculum. We went through some presentations, show them how class ran. We got 570 students, and for that night we had 20 parents. And we planned a spaghetti dinner for 300. So we had lunch planned out for us for a couple of days.
I feel your pain there. We got similar problems.
Yeah, so that's what's like in this county. As far as all the other areas, we have grown exponentially, especially with in regard to technology and those type of things. We're doing really good. Now with discipline, I heard someone say earlier about discipline. It looks like we have less discipline issues, but being on the ground, seeing what's going on, it looks like we have less discipline issues. But I know with the PBIS, we're doing the positive behavior strategies. It kind of curtails the write-ups.
How does that work for you guys?
Huh?
How does that work for you guys?
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
Like touch and go.
Since it's on tape, no, well, it doesn't work with ninth grade. I mean, I think it's more of an elementary school concept because the kids, if we put them on a point system and like a merit system, they can care less. They get the point. So what? What am I going to get with this point? What am I going to get? You're going to give me a sticker? I mean, what's going to happen?
Ninth graders don't want stickers.
They can care less. We tried to give them an incentive, telling them that they can use their telephones and headsets in the lunchroom if they, behave themselves. But when children didn't behave themselves, they did it anyway. They would take out their headphones and plug into their phones and listen during lunch. So that didn't work. You can't give them a reward if they're gonna do it anyway. So it's like it doesn't matter to them. So that PBIS, it's not working well, but it makes us look like we have less write-ups because we tried so many other things before a kid, and before a kid is actually written up, we have to have so many steps that we follow with positive interventions, not just, I'm used to going the other way. I call the parent, I counsel with the student, and nothing's changed. I gave them after school detention. That's what I'm used to, but we're not doing that right now. So it's kind of tough, but it looks like our behavior has changed. So that's what I would say in the past 2 years. It looks like that area has been better, but it hasn't. Now, as far as the overall feel of the school, we had 100% to say that our school is a great place to work and learn. And we have a new administrator now, so I can't say it's her, but the previous administrator, you may not, been able to go beyond the PBIS, but she gave us everything else we wanted, such as 2 years ago, we didn't have technology in the classroom. Every teacher may have had like 3 laptops in the class, but now she made it where every teacher has a laptop cart of 30 laptops of their own in the room. So it's a good feel. She changed the infrastructure so the internet wouldn't crash. So all the classes can be on the internet at the same time. It doesn't matter. So it's a real good feel now. So that I would attribute that to the technology that she brought in.
That's awesome.
All right, I feel like I talked enough.
All right, I'll go ahead and go next. The first thing before I talk about cultural change, I don't know what you guys had, but in 2014, as far as teachers that took the survey, we had 98%, but last year we only had 59% of people actually take the survey, so less than 2/3. That's something that jumped out at me initially. For culture change, I looked at 3 categories. Like Arthur said, I looked at time first. We had 98% of teachers and staff say they were satisfied with non-instructional and planning time. The biggest increase or positive thing I think we had was with facilities and resources. We were talking a little bit before we started the meeting about how supplies are a big deal and paper is gold. So there was a 10 to 15% increase on average as far as access to technology, internet access, digital resources, office supplies. I know when I first came in 4 years ago, that was a big issue. The internet was terrible. You would lose internet maybe 5-6 times a day in your classroom. You had a set number of copies you could make at all 4 copiers, and you only got one ream of paper. I'm sorry, 1 case of paper. God, 1 ream would be terrible. 1 case of paper for the entire semester. So that's gone. That's improved a lot with the new administration. Negative things, the community support and involvement, similar to the problems Arthur is having. Our parent support increased slightly, but it remains low. The 2 biggest ones, parents as decision makers and parent support of teacher decisions, we're in the 40th percentile, I think 43 and 44. So that definitely needs to be addressed. Professional development opportunities outside school and within the school have decreased. Those numbers were down 10 to 20% across the board. And I noticed that in particular when I first came in, there was professional development once, maybe twice a month in the form of people coming to talking to PLCs and having school-wide, as far as the entire staff, after school or planning period, professional development. And then the last thing, negative, actually, I think that might have been it. I'm trying to bash my school here. I got off on a tangent. That was as far as bad stuff for the school. So how has it changed? The current administration, I think, is the real reason for the change. We got a new administrator in. He brought in new APs. His focus was more on student conduct. I didn't mention that as one of our bad things because I wasn't there for those problems. But speaking to teachers before, student conduct was a big issue. Like Arthur said, maybe not clear communication. I think David said something about earlier too. Rule changes, the kids not being okay with it, teachers not being on the same page. We had a lot of teacher turnover, so they weren't sure how to approach things. That was just a big problem. And they took more of a focus on that and took focus away from professional development, spending time on that and getting us supplies. And then the last thing, how has this been, what work needs to continue to occur, and what would I tell the current administration? They've put steps in place already this year to have more professional development. We've already had 3 PLC meetings after school, special days they set up. I think the county, I don't know if it's a statewide thing. Once or twice a month, they do a half day for students, and the second half of the day is staff development. They've done that a few times, so they put that in place. It seems to be working out a little bit better. I think the major concern, based on the survey and what I see and have experienced, is the parent and community support. The current administration has attempted to resolve this, having PTA or PTO nights.
Mm-hmm.
They call it open house, kind of, where you come and give out progress reports. They tell us to give the kids a free 100 or some sort of incentive, maybe some candy or something to show up. But we have about 800 kids, and on average, each teacher will get maybe 1 to 2 parents for maybe 70 kids that they have in their 3 classes. Again, that number varies.
What's the grade level?
We're 9 through 12. I have 10 in particular. I've got 72 kids right now, and I had 4 parents at open house.
So I bet it's like a
PTA night.
I bet it's like a high school thing that parents don't.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, I didn't mention my school's name, I don't think. Red Springs High School, by the way. I'm kind of near you. Arthur, Robinson County. Maybe it's just a regional thing. I don't know.
It's definitely the rural thing too.
Yeah, David, you said you were in Columbus, right? So,
Yeah, I was in Columbus County. We had a huge issue with parent involvement. Here in Wake County, it's a whole different ballgame. We have a whole lot more parent involvement here than what I ever had down in Columbus County.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. But the last thing I was going to say, at the same time, we can't just blame it all on the community. I feel like a lot of teachers at my school just want to blame the parents when stuff like that goes wrong, but they don't necessarily want to take initiative. They'll call the parent one time and record it on the contact log, and they'll say, oh, well, I covered my part. That's all I need to do. And they just won't even try anymore after that. And, I mean, I've been guilty of the same thing. I'm not going to lie. I've done it too. You have 75, 70 kids. It's just difficult. But the teachers and the administrators, I think, just need to take the initiative to be more involved. Something's got to change. And if it's not coming from the parents and the community, then we have to do it. They're all for the athletics.
Yeah.
They show up and support that. I mean, we have huge turnout for football, basketball, soccer games, but when it comes time for scholastics or to show up to PTA, nothing. Maybe 5% parents show up. So that's all I've got, guys.
Okay. I guess
Right. I can I was like, what's going on? You want to go next?
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm the last
Who's
one.
switching these screens?
What? We have 9 minutes and 51 seconds remaining.
Yes.
You
Okay.
can have 4 minutes.
Okay. Do you want me to go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, I'm at Maiden High School, and that's in Catawba County. And I kind of did the same thing that you guys did, just sectioned it off and looked at everything. I'll start off with the negatives because it was really bad. The facilities and resources, on average, we went down 20%. It was horrible. The access to instructional materials went down 20, and the access to copy machines, papers, pens, that sort of thing went down 30%. You can't even get a pen. Like, it is locked. We have 5 reams of paper to last us the entire year, not semester, year. And when we're out, we're out. They did move money from athletics to get us that paper because we would have people come in over the summer and just make all these copies for their church, for their kids' clubs, whatever. And so I have 5 packs of paper to last me an entire school year. And I don't have textbooks, but that's a different soapbox for a different day when we have more time. Unlike what some of you guys were saying, we have really good community support and involvement, but that's just because it's a small community. It's always been that way. It's the biggest little football town in America. Everybody's super tight. We did have a big increase in parents and guardians on making decisions. We have 3 parents on our BLT committee that comes in, and so they're involved every 2 weeks. We have a meeting after school. And then the other one that was kind of shocking to me was managing student conduct. And some of you guys have already talked about inconsistencies between the teachers. I could go off on a rant on that as well. But I think overall we need to be more consistent. And then we also went down 10% on the school administrators being consistent. And I don't mean to be mean, but our administrators are very inconsistent. Who you are and who you know gets you very far at my school. This one kid, he got caught with marijuana in his truck, but he was the lead basketball star, so he did not get in trouble at all. And then you've got this little kid who's a nobody that gets 10 days for it. So it's really bad, really bad. But I think that comes from, we did have an administration change, and he was, like, I'm not bashing coaches because I'm a coach, but he was a coach first. And so he sees athletics at the very top, and then academics is kind of below that. Let's see if I can flip. But with him coming, we did see on school leadership that did go up. A big jump was in the faculty being recognized for their accomplishments. So when we have faculty meetings, he always starts out with a praise of some sort. And so that's really good. And then, like I've said, the community involvement also went up a lot. We have a community calendar page, and we're always contacting parents. At open house, I have tons of people come, tons. Like, I want to turn people away because it's just nonstop for 2 hours.
Tell them to bring paper.
Yeah, for real. I need it.
Donate supplies.
Yeah. So I know that was really quick, but I'm trying to give you some time to.
Can't get over your paper thing. That's crazy.
Yes, 5 rooms
I
of paper.
thought mine was bad.
No,
I thought mine was
that's
bad.
Hers is worse.
Man.
Yeah, it's awful.
Okay, I'll be quick. Promise. So, overall, from 2014 to 2016, all of our percentages went up.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't there in 2014. I actually started in 2015. But I noticed that the biggest positive change was in professional development. We had, on average, a 20% increase from 2014 to 2016. And honestly, the 2 year, well, this is going to be my third year, but the last 2 years, there have been so many professional developments that it gets to the point where I'm just sick of how many professional developments we go to, because it's like so constant, and sometimes it's even like during the school day, so you have to miss your classes, and which I hate, because then you get back and you're like completely off track. But I mean, like, and so far this year we've had 11 weeks of school so far, and I think I've already gone to like 5 math professional PDs and 3 ESL professional developments, and I mean, like, at least 2 or 3 more. So it's like ridiculous. Where we're a little bit lower would be community support and involvement. I mean, it still went up, and I think that has a lot to do with the principal, but it's still pretty low considering. I mean, we're a Title I school. We live in our school's in a really bad neighborhood, and a lot of our parents, you know, they work nights, and usually the most parent involvement we get, in my opinion, is when we have like fall festival where we're giving away free stuff. That's when we see the majority of our parents. So, I mean, I'm being honest, but I mean,
grade level?
Your parents. What?
What's the grade level?
Oh, sorry, I'm elementary. I work at East Elementary in Union County, so I'm the only elementary teacher in our group. But yeah. I think really the change really has to do with our principal. In 2014, they had a different principal, and since he started, he's changed a lot. We have our 4th computers in all the classrooms. We have a computer lab. We have supplies. we get regular shipments of like boxes and boxes of papers like at least every 2 months. But
I don't get anything.
sorry.
Rub it in. Just rub it in.
Exactly.
What do I think we need to work on? I still think we need to work on community involvement and parent support. I mean, it's really hard just because a lot of times when we have parent conferences, parents just don't show up. I mean, I'll make a phone call, they'll answer the phone, they'll say they're coming, but they don't show up anyway. And when they do come, a lot of what you hear is, I work, I can't help them with their homework, there's no way that I can check it, they do the best that they can, they're just very distracted, I have 5 other kids at home, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I mean, like, I know administration already put a couple things into play. We're inviting parents to our sit team. We're trying to do a couple more parent nights a year. So those are good things. I mean, that have already been put into play. Other than that, suggestions for parent support, I mean, a lot more phone calls home. And I know a lot of the time I'm the one that ends up doing them because I'm bilingual and our population is like 80% Hispanic. But I mean, I really don't mind. So, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Wow.